Hi, Senator Hough here for our weekly update, and this week I want to talk about the Second Amendment. There's a number of important pieces of legislation that are going to be moving in the next week or so, and it's very important for those of you who care about the Second Amendment that you keep a close eye on a couple of key votes and committees I'm going to just about to talk about. First, really briefly, I actually have some good news. That a piece of legislation that I sponsored has now gone through the Senate, and the corresponding bill in the House has passed, so we're almost close to completion. That basically saying that on people that currently have right to carry permits, handgun carry permits, that when they go to get renewals, they don't have to be fingerprinted anymore. It'll be like the handgun qualification license. So a small technical win, but something that makes it easier. There also is some other legislation moving through to remove some unnecessary regulatory burdens as far as the timeline that you have to renew them and things like that. So some small minor wins there, but we are facing some real threats going forward. Next week, I expect in the Senate that we will be voting on and discussing legislation that's already moved to the House, which would ban firearms from being allowed on college campuses. The problem with this is that, first off, they're already banned. No one allows it. And second off, it makes it a criminal offense. So there's a million unintended consequences for this. If someone's driving down Route 1 and goes on the University of Maryland property and they are legally transporting a firearm, they could now be facing criminal penalties. We have ROTC programs. We have handgun training classes actually in some Western Maryland campuses. So there's just a ton of unintended consequences. This bill is merely being done so that they can put something that sounds scary but is really just bad policy, and they can put it on the governor's desk. It's just a completely political bill to try to make the governor sign or veto this. There's also legislation which I talked to you about last week, which there's word there could be movement in the House, which is on the terrorist watch list legislation. Long and short, what this legislation does is allows the President of the United States has a secret list, or the executive branch has a secret list no one has access to, which is the terrorist watch list. And we have it for good reason, so that these people can't board planes and things like this. It's not a judicially checked list, meaning that if you're on there, you can't find out. I mean, if you're on there, you can't really go to a court to challenge it. There's not an appropriate way to challenge being on there. What the Democrats want to do is say if you're on this secret list, completely created by the president and the executive branch of the federal government, you cannot buy a handgun in Maryland. This is awful, awful policy. There's no way to check it to other branches. We should never allow the executive branch to maintain a secret list of people that can't buy guns. This is an awful piece of legislation. There's word that it could be moving through the House next week. So I would urge all of you out there that care about the Second Amendment, make sure to contact all your senators and delegates and ask them to vote against the awful piece of legislation as far as that bans guns on all colleges and the terrorist watch list legislation. Both of these are nothing but political bills that they're trying to cause problems for the governor, but they are awful, awful policy. So I hope everyone will be vigilant in these legislation and make sure you contact your legislators. Thank you.